Just before this episode starts, if you enjoy the Legit podcast, we produce 4 exclusive bonus episodes per month for our private members club on patreon.com. For the price of £1 a week, that's just £4 a month, the price of a beer or a fancy coffee. We produce these bonus episodes that have special guests on, various topics, and there's also merchandise offers and various bonuses you can have, competitions, all kinds. Get over there, support us, support the podcast by giving just £1 a week. Link is below.
This episode of the podcast is kindly sponsored by Feel Supreme. Feel Supreme have been sponsoring the podcast for a number of weeks now. They're an incredible company. They've got the most diverse range of supplements. I've got some here, the CBD, which I've been taking, which is brilliant. The mushroom extract as well, which I've been taking once a day. They've got vitamin D3, vitamin C, a huge range of different health supplements, and you can get 10% off if you go to the code below, go to the link below, which is feelsupreme.co.uk/legit, and you get 10% off by clicking through and going through their website through that link below. Please support them. They've been a huge support of the podcast. They've got the most incredible products that I take daily, myself and Andy take daily as well. So anything you can do to support them ultimately supports us. Everything CBD, vitamin D3, vitamin C, which is obviously vitamin D3 massive at the moment, and vitamin C obviously really important for immune support. So go to the link below, click through, and you'll get 10% off your order. Perfect, yeah, bro. Radio, it's a Legit podcast with myself, Tom Wickstead.
To me, Andy Grant.
Joined very kindly all the way from Manchester with SHINNy, mate. Thanks so much for coming on.
How you doing?
Yeah, good, mate. Are you?
Yeah.
Good.
See, I've stopped talking now. I don't know where we started. Good shut me a minute ago. Yeah, I'm really good, thanks.
We're going to cover everything here. Recovery, your story. I just wanted to start off, we mentioned it before as well, is you've been, I hope you don't mind me saying this, but you've been pretty vocal about what's been going on in the world at the moment with COVID and things like that. I saw a video on your Instagram, which the police, I think they sent what felt like the whole cavalry of Greater Manchester Police.
4 of them, yeah.
Four of them, yeah. To your house, knocking on your door. So, which I imagine probably pretty difficult given what you've been through now, what you've been through previous, and your recovery and things like that, and obviously the chaos of COVID is ruined pretty much everyone's life, has it, to some extent. Yeah. So, what was that video then? So what was the reason it behind?
So I'm going to tell you the real truth today. Nobody really knows, yeah?
Oh, shit.
So I knew he was coming anyway. Where the press, the media said there was like 600 people in Manchester. That's a crock of shit. There's about 6,000 people there. There was a lot of people from Liverpool as well that have done the marches here.
Yeah.
And the protests.
The freedom marches.
Yeah. So I'd been asked to do that. But I'll get back to why I'd been asked to do that.
Yeah.
Back to the police. So I knew he was going to come anyway. They illegally, unlawfully come to my address. It wasn't like it was my registered car and they see my car, then they come to my address.
Yeah.
So after all that had happened and I put it on social media, I've got friends that have been into like fracking protests and stuff with Bez out of Happy Mondays and the rest of them. So they contacted me and said, listen, what they've done is unlawful. They come to your address. Out of all people they've seen on social media, it's unlawful what they've done. And
they came to your address because they'd seen you
on social media.
Yeah.
Because obviously I've got a platform on Facebook. A lot of people see me on Instagram, but the biggest platform is Facebook. That's just reached 7.5 million this month worldwide. And that's me talking about recovery every morning. And every night we have a guest on at 9 o'clock. Different people like Jenny Powell, Leanne Brown. We've got mental wellness, get fit for mental man. We got loads on. We got someone talking PTSD. We have doctors on. So it's become like a TV show. So the reach on that is massive. But I done a live on that day at the protest, like the peaceful freedom protest, and it reached. We got about 12,500 viewers on at the one time when I was filming it. CNN don't get that. My fucking show does.
7.5 million people, like majority of networks will struggle to get. I mean, X Factor gets 7, mate, but throughout the whole, you look at Channel 5, mate, that's incredible.
We have a staunch following. So there's like about 160,000 followers on the page anyway. And what they do, they share everything that we do massively to all other groups. I picked up on that skill, and I call it a skill about 4 years ago when I first started the page, which stemmed from like a Christmas song that I wrote in Detox Unit when I first got clean and sober. And then after the Christmas song was finished, we hit the charts and stuff, it was all great. I relapsed, and then the show kind of invested their time, a lot of them, their lives into my relapse to see if I was going to get back, and I did get back. But from that, it was more of the recovery that I was talking about, because I was attending a lot of regular meetings of NA, CA, AA. For those that don't know, that's Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous and Cocaine Anonymous. And that became the SHINNy Show then, recovery. And that was me for about 3 years. But with the lockdown this year, the management, because I have a big management team that takes care of me as well. The manager, we are really close friends. And I've been challenged a lot through my page with fellowships, and because I speak openly where a lot of people wouldn't, where I don't give a fuck, basically. I speak about my recovery. I respect the anonymity statement where, we're not to speak about anybody else in their recovery or the fellowship meetings. But I chose to speak about mine because it's helped so many people around the world, and it's helping massively. But this year with the lockdown and stuff, was it about March? My manager says, get back onto the daily shows. He went, the page is going to kick off. He said, he's quite intelligent, my manager, and he says, mental health and addiction is going to go through the fucking roof. He knew it, what was happening. He said, this ain't going to be overnight. I thought it was going to be overnight. Even my son, Donovan, he's 16. And I was like, saying it's not going to last too long. And my son knew more than me. He went, Dad, this is going to be ages, this.
Yeah.
So I started doing the daily shows, and then before we know it, we had about 50, 60,000 followers anyway, just watching my journey. And then I was inviting people on, like a podcast, like a show, to do guest spots. And then it's like every night of the week we've got Manny on from Get Fit for Mental Wellness. He talks about mental health. Tuesday night we have Leanne Brown talking about spirituality and meditation, what I'm heavily into anyway. Wednesday we have an osteopath, Nick from CBD1, Jenny Powell on a Thursday. We had a doctor on every Friday. He had to kind of come away from the show because of what had happened in Manchester. We have someone speaking about the same stuff as Leanne on a Saturday night, and then Sunday night we have PTSD with Ryan.
And was this going on prior then to lockdown, or you ramped it up then more?
He kind of all come around the same time. Manny started doing his Monday night show, and then he said, I think about Doctor, I won't mind coming on your show, like.
It's great how things just evolve like
that, and then
he
just fell to piece, yeah. And then Leanne Brown's a personal. I've done a few episodes with Leanne Brown. I do episodes, not like a podcast, but it's like the same as a podcast like this. We talk, but it's not down as a podcast, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So Leanne, she quickly dived on, and then, the likes of Jenny Powell. We've got loads of amazing guests coming on in the new year as well, and they will be guests. So it's not even me. I introduce them on at 9 o'clock, then I come off the page, and they're like editors on the page. They come on and talk about their life experiences, because I'm an addict. I'm a drug addict and an alcoholic, recovered, but I'm in recovery every day. But I can't address things when someone's saying they're going to fucking commit suicide, the mental health. Manny comes in for that. PTSD, I don't have PTSD, as far as I know. So Ryan covers that. Meditation, Leanne Brown does meditation nights, and Jenny Powell speaks about things like eating disorders. I have a 25-year eating disorder as well, bulimia. So she kind of covers that. So between us all, with a doctor and osteopath,
it's a good package, yeah.
It's everything. There's nothing that we don't cover. So now, this is me saying, and on that is the greatest page on any social media. You've got me every morning at 9 o'clock talking about how I get up. I pray, I meditate, I take cold showers, I help other people. I'm of service of this world today. I'm a decent member of society. Everybody gets that every morning. Nighttime, they've got a nighttime show with special guests talking about addiction. We've got new guests now, which is Laura Castler from CA. Someone was on talking about it the other night.
Yeah.
She talks about the 12-step program, how it's changed her life.
Yeah, we talked about that. We talked about the 12-step.
I heard him saying that.
Program, yeah.
So the book, which we'll get to, that's going to, we're going to incorporate how I've got well, and that is through the 12-step program. And then we have a therapist counsellor on every Thursday night, and she is Kath Russell. She's a therapist counsellor, but she's also an addict, and she's very skilled. But this is where this disease don't discriminate. Don't care who you are. It's if you're an addict, you can't outthink this problem. So she comes on and speaks openly and honestly, but as from a therapist side and an addict alcoholic side as well. So there's no better page like it for anybody that needs help. There's a hub there that's got nearly about 800 people in it, supporters of the page. And they, when our shows are finished, they're on 24/7 with each other. The community that the page has got now, there's nothing like it.
It's good that it was there for lockdown. It's like ideal timing, I guess.
Oh, it was perfect for everybody, yeah. My manager, it's like he foreseen it all happening, you know. And now, like I say, you know, I'll flick on the switch in the morning, 300, 400, 500 people on worldwide watching, you know. And the thing is, a lot more people are more professional at the night time, but with me, there's no holds barred. If I'm in a bad fucking mood and someone's giving me shit on the page, it's like one morning I'll pray for them and wish them well, or another morning I'll be like, well, fuck you. And I think that's the
beauty of it.
Yeah, they like that bit. Then the nighttime shows, it's serious then when we're basically saving lives on a massive scale. So people talk about the 12-step programs and the fellowships, only just talking about them, in all fairness. I've been talking about for 4 or 5 years. And we're basically, when you go through the 12 steps, you finish on step 12. Well, you don't finish, you don't ever complete them, you live them. And the step 12 is to go out and carry this message of recovery to the still suffering alcoholic addicts. I carry this message to anybody that struggles. And now we're 12-stepping people off this platform and we're explaining what the 12 steps are. A lot of people think it's like a God-bashing thing or something like.
I've got it.
It's so far from it.
I think is this it, mate? Yeah.
Well, or yeah, that's probably in layman's terms. That's explaining to the average person. So yeah, so if you start from step one, step one is that's telling you in layman's terms after many years of denial of recovery. So it's honesty. So what we do is step one. That's when we admit we was powerless over drugs and alcohol, that our lives have become unmanageable. Step two, that's to believe in something that's going to restore you to sanity. When I first come around, I was like, believe in what? I want to get clean and sober. What's the talk of God and higher powers? That's what confused me.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Step three is surrender. That's kind of turning your will over then, like, all right, I get it. There's got to be something there. I'd be dead by now. I'm going to turn my will over to this. Step four, that's a search, that's a soul searching inventory on yourself. So everything I've done in my past that you would never share with another man, no chance. These are things that you would take to the grave. You have a sponsor that takes you through them 12 steps and you tell him everything, your deepest, darkest secrets. See the beauty of me?
Oh, Jesus.
That's hard.
Yeah, it was, but for me, I was speaking a lot of it in the fellowship meetings anyway. And it looks like from the book Making of an Addict, which gets released next year, there will be probably a volume 2 where I speak about the deepest, darkest secrets.
Really, yeah.
And I will be brutally honest. And I mean, no holds barred, which it will shock a lot of people. There's the risk of I've got 2 children as well.
I was going to say, how far do you push it? Like, do you literally go, I'm putting everything?
Through the steps you do. You've got to do, if you leave anything out that could possibly drive you to drink or use again, you know, it's like I've harmed a lot of people, men and women in my time, you know, violently, because I was a drug addict and I never knew better. I was from a part of the world that's kind of what we thought was right. I thought that was kind of right in them days. I thought, I'm a maniac, you know, I sell drugs, I take drugs, I sleep with women, I'm a bit of a criminal, party animal. I just accepted that's what I was, because I just thought I didn't know any better until I worked through this program and done a thorough search on myself to realise that I wasn't well. Very poorly individual for what I'd done. And with all that, you go through with the other steps, acceptance, and then the 8 and 9, that's where you make amends to the people that you have harmed. You write them down. You know, I've been able to make amends, not an apology. We've all said sorry forever, you know. These are real amends where it's nothing to do with us feeling good for saying sorry, because it makes you feel good when you say to someone sorry and they accept your apology and you feel, I feel good now. That's, for us, in our line of work, it's bullshit. We make a real amends. So to my kids' mums, people have harmed, people have robbed. You know, I've had to make some real amends. Jesus. You know, to pull someone on the street and say, I fucking robbed you, you know. And I got forgiveness off most everyone that not everybody forgives you though, and that's all right, as long as I'm keeping my side of the street clean. So the 12 steps, they teach us how to clear the wreckage of our past, basically, so we can start to live. Because that wreckage...
How hard is that on your ego? To finally, when you talk about a higher power and having to go and, ask for forgiveness of people, I imagine someone who's kind of, I don't know,
bit of a boy, like.
Yeah.
Ego's massive in our world. Massive, because we've got to crush our ego. Our disease is ego. We suffer with the disease of ego. It's a massive part of our illness, which will be explained in the book and obviously volume 2, because we need to. The book is going to save lives, and volume 2 will really explain how it saved my life and how it will continue saving other people's lives. But the ego, it's like. So there was Sigmund Freud from the 1920s. He wrote some pieces on, he called it the ID, the ego and the superego. Now, I've only just learnt about this man. The big book of Alcoholics Anonymous was written in the 1930s by two amazing pioneers, Dr. Bob and Bill Wilson, the founders of AA. But for me, people look at them like the gods and saints. Not to me. The two fucking alkies. One was a drugger, one was a womanizer. Yeah, just normal human beings to me. That's all human beings are to me. I can't look at other people like they're anything else but that. But they're the pioneers of the 12 steps and the 12 traditions. The 12 steps was formulated for us to stop killing ourselves. But then there's the traditions that not many people speak about. And the traditions were formulated for us, maniacs, addicts, to not kill each other. Because we're sharing rooms with each other week in, week out. And the book tells us we are maniacs. We're basically psychopaths without consciences. There's no difference between us, but we have a God conscience, they say. And that's the difference. That's the stop button for us. I've not done it in this room, but I continuously kill people in my thinking. People in meetings. Can't fucking stand a lot of people in the meetings. They're my brothers and sisters. But I assassinate half of them every time because I recognise me in them, hate them. And this is what no one speaks about. Your man here the other day, I wouldn't mind if I like to sit in with my fellow addicts and say, like your Russell Brands of the world.
Yeah.
It's great Russell, isn't it? Spiritual, sits on his pedestal with his big beard looking like Jesus fucking Christ.
Says a lot of fancy words.
Yeah. He's saying our words. He's speaking what he hears. All he's doing is repeating what he's heard in the 12-step fellowships. It's as simple as that for me. I'd love to sit in and have a conversation with him and say, Russell, if you have got the same disease as me, how many people have you killed this week? Have you killed your wife yet? Have you slaughtered? These are the things that nobody honestly speaks about. In the mind of the addict that has the disease, I'm the real deal that talks about it. A lot of people that are the real deal, all of a sudden become like these spiritual gurus. I've got this program now and carry the big books like, I'm a nice guy now, and, I don't suffer that bullshit because I'm like, I practice this stuff. I meditate every morning. That is my ritual. I'm very spiritual today, but I'm still a maniac. If I'm talking all that good stuff and not talking about what's really going on in other people's thinking that suffer with the same disease as me, they're not going to identify with me.
Yeah, of course.
I can't identify with Russell. I like some of the stuff he's talking about because I do that stuff, but it's like, but Russell, tell us the other stuff. Do you know? Tell us
like
the Bible.
half the story.
Yeah, you can't just tell half of the story and talk a good one, which he does. He's only telling half of his story, really. So
I think, though, the reason I ask you about that is because...
The ego, sorry, I've gone off on a tangent there. Sorry about that, Russell. I always seem to have a go at Russell, by the way. But
I only say that is because I suffered with gambling, and the thing for me, and I can imagine it to be the same with alcohol or drugs, is it's accepting that someone's got the better of you. For example, betting-wise, it's that hard thing to give up, thinking, I roughly know how much I'm down. I'm not fucking stopping until I'm at least even. It's like in a fight. I'm fucking going back for more until I've won. I've got the better of it. Not quitting until it's fucking too late. Is it the same thing with your ego to just you got to accept defeat and go, look, I fucking lost there to the bookie. That's it. Give it up. Is it like that with drink? You've got to go.
It's exactly the same as the gambling. It's the fight. It's like you're not having me because I am who? I'm big hard SHINNy. It's like, drop the ego, you fucking not. I'm not. My first sponsor said to me when I was like, I ain't getting on no fucking bus. I'd lost a lot of money by this time, and he said, "You're going to have to get on public transport to get to meetings." I'm not fucking doing that. He said, "I'm not. Who are you? You're not that important." And I'm like, and he challenged me. He was a very old friend of mine, Alan, and he challenged me. Who the fuck are you? And it landed then. I thought, who am I? I need to quit this now. And like with the gambling, the drugs, the alcohol, surrender. Step one.
That's so hard to do though, isn't it?
It's so hard to do, but it's so freeing. In addiction, this is the only battle. This is the only battle. When you throw in the towel, you win.
Yeah, it's true.
Not your opponent, not the gambling. We win. We free ourselves from the fight. We're never going to win it. You're never going to beat the gamble. I'm never going to beat the drug or the drink, especially if you're an addict. An addict I can only speak of my time. So when I threw in that towel and I surrendered, I won the fight, basically. And it's the only fight you will ever win by throwing in the towel. But not a lot of people understand that.
I've never thought of it like that.
Yeah, but I believe it is the only battle you will throw the towel in and you will win. And it's the greatest battle to win, because I win my battle every day. I have to fight against it. I've got ego. Step 6 and 7, that talks about your defects of character. One of our defects of character is ego, and we've got to pray to remove our defects of character. We ask him to be removed daily, but they're still there. But the ego is pride and all that kind of bullshit. But again, I can drive out of here talking all spiritual stuff and I'll get caught up in road rage. I'm not fixed. I don't ever believe I will be fixed, but I can practice things. I'm a lot better than what I was, and I've been practicing this stuff for like 3.5 years now. But ego is a massive part of ours. And back to that Sigmund Freud, before I'd read a piece of his, I'd kind of worked out what he was writing about in the 20s, and it was the id, the ego, and the superego. 3 of them. So some people talk about the disease of addiction. There's you, and then there's your addict. I never felt that. You know, what is it? When I can't think of the word now. I lose sentences. I'm taking that Joe Rogan stuff at the minute, that alpha brain.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because I get blackout in my brain. That's through the drug abuse. Anyway, so I worked out this thing in me. I don't believe there's just 2 of me. I believe this is the vehicle, this is the car, and there's 3 of us in the vehicle. I'm driving now, and then in the passenger, in the front there's the superego and ego, and in the back, I've always known there's someone else in the back. There's not just me in this addict thing. The only way I can describe it is very demonic, very dangerous, powerful and cunning. This entity, it feels like. And that's what I believe is my disease, is my ego. But then with the ego and the superego, we're able to practice things like helping other people, stop being cunts, basically. Practicing meditation, tapping into a power. And I meditate without fail. I don't go near the phone until I've meditated, and that's me every morning. I sage a few times a week, because I do believe in dark energies around us all the time. And me being an addict, I was open to all that energy all the time, and no wonder I was using drugs and drinking to escape, gambling, sex, exercise, boxing, rugby, music, anything to stop this thinking of mine, because it was dark. And now my thinking, it's pretty light, but there's 3 of us working all the time. The one at the back, if we ever let him drive, for me, all bets are off. I'm out, and I don't ever believe I'd come back from a relapse, mate. I hear some people go out and they have a relapse and they get a hug, and my relapses aren't like that. If I pick up a drink, I'm in a crack house in 2 hours, and I'm up to some dangerous stuff that will probably
It's
get
that
me
bad, yeah. If there was a beer here and we were all suddenly start drinking now.
Yeah, 2 hours I'd be in Liverpool. I'd get a black cab. I'd be where all the prostitutes are. I'd be scoring crap within an hour, and I'd be in some crack house. That's how quick we work.
Is that your personality, as in like go big or go home? Have you always been like that?
Extreme, and that's what the book. So now we go to the book now, Making of an Addict. So all this stuff that I've recognised in myself, and then people says, what you're working out in yourself, great people have wrote about in the past. Sigmund Freud, the Bill Wilson and Dr. Bob, the founders of AA. But then I look back 100 years before AA, where people think AA was that's what stopped alcoholics. There was an outfit called the Washingtonians 100 years before Alcoholics Anonymous. Now, your man that was here the other day, I bet he don't get told that in the fellowships, because it's all AA and it's all CA and it's all NA. Them three fellowships can't fucking stand each other. And I can't stand them. I formed a fellowship of my own, All Fellowships Anonymous, through the lockdown, because we had no choice. There was a lot of our people going out relapsing. They closed our meetings we'll go back to the book, but to the lockdown, with them all sprinkling down their decisions, what we should do.
As in the government?
Down. Yeah, as the government, yeah. What a crock of shit, because they don't understand us at the bottom, for like fellowship meetings of all the fellowships, support networks, mentally ill people. I've got a mental health condition. I've got alcoholism, basically. I need my medicine. If I've got cancer, I need my medicine. I need hospital and treatment.
Yeah, of course.
Our treatment is AA, fellowship meetings, people, physical interaction with like-minded people. Only alcoholics can save alcoholics. I could sit in with the greatest doctors and wrap them into circles, because they don't know what we've got. That's what Dr. Bob and Bill Wilson recognised. They talk about a therapeutic value of one addict or alcoholic helping another. It's without parallel. Nothing comes close to it. So when we're not getting that power, we become then powerless, because we believe in a power greater, what we pray to every day, and that is our ultimate strength. But along with that, it's people, human beings. We need interaction. We need to hear. I need to go to meetings, even though I assassinate half of the motherfuckers in there, because I need to hear my story. I need to hear my madness, because if I'm not hearing how crazy I am, I'm like you then. And maybe that drink will become more appealing.
Yeah, no.
My head will convince me that I am not an alcoholic no more, but my fellows will convince me on a daily that I am. And if they're not there for me, I've just lost a few friends because of addiction, killing themselves. That's with all that power that they're raining down. Everybody's staying. It's like, 1 minute, what about us? We've got our own fucking stuff here and our own, basically, law and rules. Now you're telling us to stop that. So I formed a fellowship called All Fellowships Anonymous, and I united the three fellowships. A lot of them didn't come, but we had 70, 80 strong in a park every Sunday and every Wednesday night.
During lockdown, yeah.
During lockdown.
I'd love to know, and I'm sure there is statistics out there that we could probably find of what the amount of drug abuse and alcohol abuse that went up
through the roof
from March. I'm sure it's, like you said, I'm sure it's through the roof massively.
So is that why you end up getting caught up in all this? Because the police because they were basically saying that you were, I don't know,
fearmongering with me. That's all them dickheads was trying to do. Coming to my address again. Only human beings for me. Police, uniform, every human beings. I've only got one power that scares me, and that's the one that can set my life at any time. Dickheads in uniforms coming to my address, trying to scare me. One hid round the corner. We all seen the video. I saw the video, yeah. Pathetically hid round the corner. And I was asked to speak that day. Now everybody assumes that now, a lot of people that I'm into conspiracies and the earth's flat and this, that and the other, yeah? I get a lot of it. I don't get a lot of it. I know a little bit about a little. I don't know a lot about a lot, like a lot of people do today. They can talk well on the social media.
On that, before you go on to this, mate, just before you say that, I totally agree, mate. We had Dean on the podcast, and the amount of people now thought, because he's been on the podcast, that everything he said, I was on board with. I'm a bit like you. I thought some of it was interesting, some of it was not, some of it... But just the fact that he'd been on it and I was associated, people were like, "Oh, that's it, Andy and so."
Oh, you've been down that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Dean, for me, he's one of the people that I'll say he knows a lot about a lot, and he does. And I don't know as much as Dean, Paul Boyce, other people of the world.
Yeah, of course.
We're highly connected with people from around the world, intelligent people that aren't idiots, basically, talking conspiracies, that are talking real stuff. But I'm not going to go into that, The likes of Dean or Paul, for me, I'll sit and listen to them all day, and I'll accept what they're saying because they are very educated in this kind of stuff. But I wasn't asked there to talk, to speak in Manchester about COVID and stuff. I was there to stand up for what I will continue doing for my people half of them that I assassinate, that is, that assassinate me because I'm hated a lot through the fellowships because I speak openly and honestly about it. I was there for my people to say, this is not fucking on. We don't accept your rules. Fuck off. We will have to do something else. We can't accept your rules because we're going to die. So addicts, they call them the anonymous people in America that speak out. The Americans would look onto me and say, he's one of us, one of the anonymous speakers, because I speak about this power that we've got to stay clean and sober, yeah? And what they'd cottoned on as addicts, like the gays did, you know, they cottoned on that he was dying from a disease, AIDS.
Yeah.
He was dying. He was basically, it's like he was being handpicked and just assassinated, and they got on that. And I will call it an assassination. I will, a government assassination. And they realised that they had to start speaking. If they do not start speaking about this, they're just going to all die and die and die. But what have they done? Not many people die of AIDS today because of the group that got together initially and says, we need to make a stand. We've got to start talking. We're fucking being killed here. We've got to bring this to the surface. And I believe today that's what addicts have done. So we've got a disease. We have got a disease. You know, it's not no question. The World Health Board says it's a disease that centres in the mind of the addict. Yeah, but there's no cure. We get it. But we kind of have a cure, thanks. We have a solution, a daily solution. Now, if you're going to take that away from us, we're going to die.
Yeah.
So I've got kids.
When you say it like that, it's fucking so obvious as well.
Nobody sees it like that because nobody speaks it like that, you see. Where I only speak the way I vision it. And it's like, we have a disease that we need our medication, basically. And that is our fellows to keep us well, and our fellowship, our brothers and sisters together. We are maniacs, basically, in the meetings. If you sat in some of them meetings and hear what we shared about, you'd be like, fucking hell.
As in just stories?
Stories, yeah. You know, we can crack jokes like when you have a sponsor. If you tell your sponsor you fucked a chicken, he'll probably laugh and say, don't worry about it, I fucked a dead one. You see, you know, it's some crazy stuff that nobody speaks about. Cross-dressing, your sexuality, all that kind of stuff that people, when they're sniffed out the mind and smoking crack, the sexual sickness that people continue to drink and use on because they don't understand why they're fucking doing it in the first place. They just think they're sick and they're vile. We openly speak about it. Not many men speak about having bulimia, being sick after every fucking meal that I ate, because I was scared about my ego was taking over. Like, I can't be overweight. I need to keep looking good. I need to look sharp. I need to show people how fit I am, because really deep down I'm a scared little man, and I'm scared that these men are going to attack me. That's all I see today. Everybody punching the bags and walking around with the big scary dogs. I see right through it. Scared little boys inside, scared, showing the people, you ward off from me, stay away from me, because I'm this big tough man. But what we do in the fellowships, we throw it all down and say, do you know what? I'm a scared little boy. And that's what I've been able to look back through the steps and see where it all happened. I'm just a scared little child at 7 that was an overweight kid that didn't have a dad around, that was fucking terrified of human beings hurting me. That was my fear. And that's what I used on drink, drugs. But that wasn't where it started. My first drink was vinegar.
I was just about to ask.
Food. And these are things that no one speaks about.
I actually spoke about it on the last podcast again. It's all similar things. But I had a girlfriend who had bulimia, and she never had it when I was with her. But even like the effects afterwards, you know, you go for a meal with her and stuff, or she'd get a cob on, I'd be like, what's up? And she'd be like, oh, shouldn't have ate that, shouldn't have drank that, and then for me, who'd never had any experience of it, I was just like, fucking hell, just chill out.
Stop it. Why don't you stop it? And it's like telling a crack addict to stop smoking crack. It's like, all right, is that all you've got to do then? It doesn't work for us. It's a part of an addiction again. It's a control thing, eating disorders. I'm in control when I'm eating, overfacing myself, and I'm throwing it up, you know. And these are, you know, I've encouraged not just men to speak up in fellowships now and get outside help, like with therapy. A lot of the women that never spoke about it, because we was all right saying that we're alcoholics and we're crackheads and we put pins in our grounds and all that kind of stuff. But when it come down to the nitty gritty stuff, like I throw up after every meal, and you know, it's that became very shameful. It's like, so you're not ashamed of being a crackhead, but you're ashamed of being sick. Come on, fucking tell us everything. Yeah. So what I done through my steps, I realised that it was nothing to do with the drugs and drink for me anymore. It really wasn't. It was my thinking that was fucked, and I need to work on my thinking. But I would look back, and my addiction was rife in me from the puddle that I drank out of. That's where it all started from as a child. Something happened in my thinking when I drank out of a dirty puddle. It was like a spark moment. I became mature in a split second because I'd made a decision for myself. And from that decision, that's when I believe I'd ignited the disease. I believe it's in you or it's not. They say all addicts have had some form of childhood trauma, yeah? But not every child that has the same kind of trauma becomes an addict. So what does that tell you? It tells you that he was already an addict. 2 kids have the same trauma. One becomes an addict, one doesn't. It's not a coincidence thing. It means that the disease was already in this child, and the other kids just
so you believe, yeah?
It's just that's what I know. I know that is the case. Every addict has had some form of childhood trauma, but not every child that has trauma becomes an addict.
Yeah, no, I think that. Well, my mum died when I was 12, and I just think that led me on a bit of a life to think, because it was so shit dealing with that. It was like nothing else. Like, I went a bit like you, and you got to go hard or go home. Like, it ends up joining the Marines, and cause that was like the hardest thing you could. Something extreme, and then the gambling. It was like fucking. Right, if I lose this, well, let's fucking. If I'm gonna lose it, may as well fucking lose it all. If I'm gonna win, let's fucking win it all. And I've never heard that before.
So
about
if I
trauma.
said to you, I'm hearing traits of alcoholism, yeah? I'm only saying I'm hearing traits. I can never diagnose you or you for having the same disease as me. You self-diagnose yourself. No doctor comes in and takes a blood test, go, oh, you got alcoholism. We self-diagnose. We know when we're alcoholics. And that's through hearing other people's stories. That's why it's so important for the fellowships to continue doing what we're doing, fuck what they're doing. The government and fucking raining down the bullshit. We need to continue doing this. So if I said to you, you've probably got alcoholism. You're probably like, well, alcoholism? Nah, you wouldn't have that because of the stigma that's attached to it, because it's got alcohol in that word. But if I said to you, you probably got extremism, would you say, yeah, I probably have?
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. And that is what I will continue. That is what the book is we're going to revolutionise the stigma of addiction by one word. Extremism.
That's so true.
So alcohol, I took out of that word, alcoholism. It's no business to me no more alcohol, but I'm still left with the 3 letters, ism, the internal spiritual malady, what the alcoholic suffers with. And it's an internal job that we've got to work on. It's a spiritual malady. So but then if I say to people like Matt Fraser, the fittest man on earth, who else can we say? The greatest actors, Andy Hopkins, alcoholic, they're all in AA. Bradley Cooper.
Did Bradley Cooper go?
Gerard Butler, Tom Hardy, they're all in AA. The greatest minds of our time, the greatest achievers on this planet are alcoholics.
Well, you look at some of the people in the art, like Amy Winehouse and other individuals, like the people who are on the fringe tend to, that extremism is there, isn't it?
Extremism, yeah.
And I think it's so good, isn't it, in one aspect. Like, you've just named loads of successful people. I look at myself, like when I set myself this first of all, the task of getting the Marines. I set this task after I got injured to break the 10k record. And everything I set, I was like, fucking boom, go. And I became extreme for it, do you know what I mean? And I fucking put everything into it.
Look at you in the early days, but like that, it's one of us.
Yeah.
One of us. So what did you break? What was it, a 10k record in what?
Fastest amputee in the world.
So, and that's 10k, how long did that take you?
37 minutes, 17 seconds.
Fucking hell. He's an alcoholic. But this is what I'm trying to say.
Oh, mate, but mate, fucking hell, everything you're saying, mate, it's been said into layman's.
Identifying.
Yeah. Right, and I know, mate, massively have problems with my gambling, and it's that kind of ego thing of like, you know,
everybody thinks you've got to drink alcohol to be an alcoholic. It's so far from the fucking truth. It's just that Matt Fraser, the fittest man on earth, when I first got into CrossFit, as soon as I seen him, I was like, he's one of us. People were like, are you fucking mad? That's Matt Fraser, the fittest man on earth. I'm like, he's one of us. You can't be that great without being one of us. And that's what I truly believe. I believe this. Today I can call it like a gift, alcoholism, if it's channeled and used correctly. Anything with great power comes great responsibility. Now, I can go down a fucking rabbit hole there of conspiracies and say that alcohol has been used as a weapon for thousands of years to suppress man, to lower his vibration and his consciousness, because these skilled people, I am very skilled in anything that I do, but if I pick up alcohol, I'm really skilled at that. If I smoke crack, I'm going to be the best crack smoker. If I want to run a marathon, I'm going to be really good at it. If I want to throw myself into a sport, I'm going to be really good at it. So what this book is going to explain is, if you identify with what I'm talking about and you have extremism, not alcoholism, we're not going to talk about alcohol in this, extremism. If they identify with that, it'd be like a tool book, you know, like a self-help book. Like, I get what I have these feelings and these thoughts of this extreme thinking, because we think a lot. You know, I was once told, if I think, I'm going to think my way out of a thinking disease. Fucking think again, Shin. You know, I'm not going to outsmart this thinking disease, but I can work with it. I can kind of... So I get good feelings today, as I did with the drugs and the alcohol and the sex and the chaos. I get the same good feeling by going to a gym, helping other people, becoming a success, being spiritual. I get them same feelings. Exactly the same. My disease doesn't know what crack is or alcohol. It knows feelings and it wants nice feelings. Anything that makes me feel good, I want more of it because I'm an addict. You know, when you started feeling good about the running and making you feel good, so you went into it extremely. So Matt Fraser's 17 years, it's all come out now. And I fucking loved it when it come out. He wrote a piece in a magazine that he's an alcoholic. He's known about this for 17 years. He's not had a drink for 17 years. I said, I told you. So anybody great that you see, achievers in the world, just think what they shouldn't say. They're probably alcoholics then. They just don't drink. A lot of them did drink in the beginning to quieten that mind down, because that's what we used it for. But like I say, Anthony Hopkins, I could go on with names after names. Your Russell Brands of the world, your Amy Winehouses, very skilled people. But then if you pick up the drugs and the alcohol, it's not a gift anymore.
Yeah.
You know, you can even say, only because I've seen it recently, Parkinson, you know, the interviewer, he was an alcoholic.
Was he really?
Yeah, he had to stop drinking because he was friends with George Best, and you know, they were talking about George Best and his relationship, and they always have to drink together, and he had to he stopped drinking Parkinson.
George Best, the only thing he needed was the programme. You know, your Ant and Dec, Ant.
Well, yeah, fucking hell, yeah, you'd never have thought
you
him,
know, when I see him, it's like, well, we know what he needs. All these motherfuckers that are around him, let's get him in a rehab, let's spend 100 grand on him. Right, you're all right now, back to work.
Yeah.
It's like, nah, you're not doing it right.
What was it for him? Was it alcohol and there was the medication or something?
Probably prescription drugs, which are massive. Nobody, you know, when I first come around, I thought drugs was alcohol, crack and heroin. That's what I thought, which it is. But then I learned about prescription drugs, codeine and opiate. It's like, fucking hell, that's some heavy stuff, that. You know, I never went down that route.
Well, it's like Oxycontin in the US, the opioids. The pharmaceutical made that, Purdue Pharma. They've just been, they've settled, I think now in court, I think it was something incredible, like $6 billion or something like that.
They've been sued?
Yeah, by I mean, the opioid epidemic in the US is just on another level. I'm surprised it hasn't reached the shores of this country yet.
Yeah.
But it just went insane with Oxycontin and how addictive it was, and incredible.
Yeah, it's bad. It is. It's bad to see, you know, but we're seeing it now on TV. Like, basically, us as addicts and alcoholics see Ant and Dec and think, well, he'll go out again. If he's not doing this, if I'm not hearing he's doing AA or NA or CA, it's sad to say it, he will pick up again because he's powerless right now.
Well, what is the thing, Shinny, when it's like, is there a bit of you when we go into kind of how you kind of got into this, kind of the mess that you were in at the time, but is there a point where when you want to give up, there's that bit of sadness where you think like, yeah, but this is my thing? Because I've thought about the gambling stuff when I've been bad in the past, and I've thought, right, I want to give up now, and then I've like, it's that feeling of, if I don't have the gambling, like, well, what's my little thing?
Like loss, like a sense of loss. Yeah, of course it is.
Like your identity.
Yeah, you
it's like, for example, Saturday morning, I used to go around the bookies before all the mobile phone apps or whatever. Or Saturday morning, you'll spend half an hour looking at what footy bets to do or whatever. Or it's like the match is starting. Oh, what are you going to do? I might do first goal scorer, a bit of entertainment. That's a big part of your life then, that's taken away, isn't it?
So when, as humans, not just addicts, you know, I believe in in a sense, we're all some sort of addicts. It's some are more extreme than others, you know what I mean? But avoid somewhat missing. So when I put down the drugs and alcohol, somewhat was fucking missing for me. I grieved on the stuff that brought me the worst consequences of my life. I lost my kids through drugs and alcohol. I lost every relationship. I lost my fucking mind and all my closest friends around me. But there I was grieving for this thing. And that's what people don't understand with the drug addicts and the alcoholic. We fucking missed this thing, do you know what I mean? Because it filled a void in us. So what we have to do now, we have to fill the void. The void's we call it like a God-shaped hole, a void that we've got to fill. We fill it with God. And when I speak about God, I'm not religious. I don't believe there's some fucking dude sat on a big fucking stool zapping us all. I believe in a higher power greater than ourselves. There's got to be, you know, people say to me, there's no higher power. I'm like, well, we'll go to a fucking Blackpool beach and stop that wave coming in. You can't, can you? No. Well, that's a power greater than you. That's a quick example of power greater than us. I believe there's a power. I just choose to call it God. But I need to fill myself daily with that. Because if I'm not working on my recovery, I'm working on a relapse. And when I relapse, you know, I didn't have hangovers. I had nervous fucking breakdowns. I heard your man the other day talking about his rock bottom because some bar girl said something to him.
Yeah,
and that was like the pinnacle moment for him.
18 grams of cocaine he had on that night, yeah, which is a fucking...
Yeah, and then she said he's a disgrace. Now, for some people, that can be enough. For me, she would have got swirled and I would have carried on. You know, I'd gone past that point of being a disgrace and the rock bottoms that people talk about. I had this one rock bottom. I fucking had a rock bottom every weekend, me. I had a nervous breakdown every Monday. You know, and that's where it become that bad. The only thing that could stop the nervous breakdowns and the rock bottoms was the stuff that was causing it, the drug and the drink, do you know what I mean? And so, as everybody knew I was a drugger and a brutal, horrible bastard. So today everybody can know that. Still a bit of a cunt sometimes, but I'm a spiritual, decent member of society working a recovery program. You want to know I'm an alcoholic and a drugger, you can call me for that. Yeah, now you can know that I do this as well. I'm in recovery. And I just have to do it one day at a time. I've got to fill that void daily, because if not, that's not going to tickle my fancy anymore. I'm going to start looking at other things. It's not always through a drug or a drink with me either. You know, I can pick up on women. You know, that for me, it's not being a spiritual person to have fucking 10 birds on my arm and cheating on a woman. If I'm with a woman, I was an horrible cheat on my women. You know, I'd harm the women, I'd cheat on the women. I was an abuser, basically. But today I can speak to my son about that, my daughter about that. I can sit in a conversation to accept that I was a poorly person. But it's about, I was able to turn it round. And again, referring to the 12 steps, this is something that we're told to get all our secrets out by our true elders, of the recovery world. Get all your secrets out. But my argument to them was, but you fucking idiots are keeping the biggest secret of all. The biggest one. And it's this program. We were told anonymity. You don't speak about this from press, radio and film. This was from the 1930s. And I get it. I get why they come up with the anonymity statement. Because it was quite kind of, they was trying to protect AA. It needed protecting because they'd found this power and it was like, we need to take care of this, we've got to harness this. But today don't need protecting. They say it's attraction rather than promotion. Is it not an attraction to see what I was? It's an attraction to think, I'm that bad and he was that bad, I can be like him, so that's an attraction. But for me, it's like, now it needs promoting because times have changed. Alcohol abuse and drug abuse in the world today is through the fucking roof. So we're like, right, we've got this power now, right, everyone, this is what we're doing, everyone stop, we've got this. It's nothing to do with God. It scared a lot of people out of the meetings. As soon as they heard God, it's like, it's fucking Bible bashing stuff, this. It's so far.
I had a mate who, and he didn't think he was an alcoholic, and he asked me to go along with him once, and I went to one. And an alcoholics one, and it was a bit about God and stuff like that, and I didn't really have it explained to me the way you have now, but I know what you mean, and I've got that thing of...
You'd be like, fucking God. When I walked in a first AA meeting, it scared me out from going back to AA for 6 years. My first sponsor, he took me to my first meeting, and I heard God, and I'm like, God, I've got a fucking drink and drug problem. How's God going to help me? He's not been here fucking... You know, he's not been here helping me at all. And then there was all this talk of, I burnt my house down, my kids was in the house, and I've been in prison for 20 years. I've not drank for 20 years, but I still come to these meetings, and I'm thinking, what the fuck am I doing here? Get me out of this room. I didn't realise the concepts of it. But for us that speak openly and honestly, it's like, we're not talking about a God. It's not a religious program. It's a spiritual program. It's a simple spiritual program for complicated people. Us addicts are very complicated in our thinking, basically. And what the 12 steps do, they teach us how to live. Teach us how to live decently as decent members of society. So you give me 20 addicts in a pub and 20 normal people, I'll trust them 20 addicts. Because if they work in a program like me, we don't lie, we don't cheat on our women, we don't do anything dishonest. Do you want to know the most dishonest thing I do? No one knows this, and I'll tell you now on here.
Oh shit.
Are you ready for this? It's not fucking dead chickens and all that. I don't even throw a wrapper out my car because it's not nice littered and stuff like that. But I do this one thing, and my son catches me all the time, and it's like my 99%, you've got me, yeah, dishonesty in me. But in Tesco's, I don't know what it is. You know, them toffee sweet things.
Yeah, pick and mix.
Yeah, you know, the fudge.
Yeah.
Every time I have to take a fudge, and that's like my ego saying, you've got all of me, but this is one thing. That's the most dishonest thing I fucking do. And my son laughs like that. Why? Every time I'm like, I don't know, it's just that one little dishonest thing. And that's the most dishonest thing I do. If I'm with a woman today, I don't cheat on her. I respect her, respect my women. My daughter's a woman, you know, she's 10, my mum's a woman, my sister is. I had no respect for... My biggest amends was the women that I'd harmed in the past. And not just physically, it was mentally. I was an abuser mentally. I controlled the women so I could... There was more like hostages for me. So I could continue doing what I was doing. I always needed... I had like a codependency on a woman to be able to take care of stuff when I'd kind of stooped that low again. You know, I lost my mind that much. But it teaches you an amazing way to live.
Shinny, so did you start... So the first time you did drugs then, was it the classic where you're out in a nightclub and it's one of those where someone's offering... You know, we hear the story all the time. Is that how it's... You know, obviously Hacienda was big in probably when you were...
I was there every Friday me at 16. Yeah, my cousin worked on the door, so I was allowed to go in, like... But it's the usual suspects, I think for everyone. Well, for me anyway. In school, it would be weed... drink. I used to sneak alcohol in, fags, all that bullshit. And then I was introduced to LSD. I believe that's why I'm quite spiritual today, because the psychedelics, the abuse that I put myself under with LSD, they reckon the greatest way to stop drinking and using is to go and have ayahuasca.
Yeah, of course, mate, yeah.
You know, the 60% of people that have ayahuasca, the psychedelic trip, to stop drinking and using, 60% get through. But then... I'm from a 5% world of recovery. There's only 5% of us that get through. So it's like, only 5% of us get through, but go and have a drink of ayahuasca with the shamans and kick back for a couple of weeks. 60% don't drink and use again. So I believe I'm very spiritual because of the psychedelics, because LSD was a big thing for me.
What? I've never tried. I've never done LSD.
You don't need to. Go and have some ayahuasca, but have it proper, you know, monitored with proper shamans. Like,
I don't want to glamorise it, but does it just like I always hear on like different colours and that sort of thing, and
that was like, I suppose, like micro-dosing, I suppose, for LSD. But then when you have a proper psychedelic trip, and I've watched James English done one in. Was it Costa Rica? Yeah. He'd done a full episode of it. And the guy that owned that facility, the centre, he was an absolute raging lunatic, addict, worth 70 million. Women, drugs, alcohol. He was an absolute lunatic. And someone said, like, try the ayahuasca, let's see if it can heal you, can cure you. And it did. And he owns that facility now. He said he's seen these beings telling him that he's going to own this centre, an ayahuasca centre. Basically told him how much he was going to pay for the place and where it was going to be.
Mad,
you know, it's like people don't believe in what you really see things. It's just you tripping. I believe you see things, what really is going on.
But psychedelics, they are using, in Sweden, we've talked about this before, they're using ecstasy to help PTSD. Yeah. And there's a number of, I think LSD might even be involved in that as well as helping.
50 years they've not worked on LSD in America. Why? Because there's goodness to the psychedelic. that can heal, can cure. So with the 12 steps, what we do with that, we bring everything to the surface. It's like in literature how we do it. But with ayahuasca and stuff and certain amounts of LSD, you drink that and it brings everything. You purge, you shit yourself, you spew, and they reckon that is you like getting rid of all the shit in you. And then you talk everything through. And the 12 steps is exactly the same. You bring it to the surface, you get it out, and that usually was what you was drinking and using on in the first place. So it's out now. So why would you want to drink and use to escape what? You've nothing to escape. You brought it to the surface. There's so much that we're not told. And again, let's not go into the conspiracy side, but why have they not done any research till now for 50 years on LSD? Because there's a lot of benefits to it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
What was your life like then growing up? Like, obviously, like most kids, I was drinking on the streets, smoking the odd spliff and stuff. What was your ambitions through school? You know, what you wanted to do?
More. Just always wanted more of anything. Anything that made me feel better about myself or good, I wanted more. I got kicked out of school in 5th year. As soon as I was kicked out of school, I was already selling drugs in school, weed and stuff like that. Because I was from a society where my dad left when I was 1. So I speak about us being like wolves, pack animals. We have our alphas and we belong in groups as human beings, like wolves. And we'll always turn to the alpha that we see in our vicinity, you know, like, what's the greatest role model for me? And my role model wasn't my dad, because he'd fucked off when I was 1. He was an alcoholic, it killed him. My role models was drug dealers, gym goers, bodybuilders. Dorian Yates, who's become one of my best mates. I idolised the man, you know, because he was this big thing that obviously nobody fucked with this guy. You know, and that's what I seen. I seen people invincible, and I was this feared person that was suffering with alcoholism. I didn't even know. So I wanted to create something that would ward off anybody that wanted to come and harm me, because deep down I was this scared little chubby kid at 7. I always felt like inside. I still feel it today sometimes. So I idolised people that was going to the gyms, driving the smart cars. They became my alpha male. So today's society, what our kids are seeing, our poor kids are seeing, is dickheads, gangsters, criminals.
It is idolised, mate. It's idolised in Narcos. It's idolised in films. It's
It's like, you know, and my son, he idolises me. I lead by example to my son today, and I have to speak openly. I have been a criminal. I have been a bastard, and I've brutally harmed people unfairly, and I still see it going on. You know, there's certain people that I commend for the way they speak openly about it. Darren G, you know, he was a criminal, you know, but what he's speaking, his underlining message, even though he's hated from a lot of people in Liverpool because he's speaking the fucking truth. And I'll probably get hated today. I've got a lot of friends in Liverpool and Manchester. But for me, the way people are still behaving now, you know, drug dealing, terrorising families, it's not acceptable.
Yeah.
Not in my eyes. It's certainly not acceptable. People making careers out of drug dealing so their kids can live in fancy houses and be drove to school in a nice fancy car, when the people that they're selling drugs to, their poor kids are going through hell. Because I've been in that hell and I can speak about that. Do you know, I've been in that hell. I've been in houses smoking crack when these kids getting ready for school because their parents was fucked. And I sat in that.
Christ,
I've sat in that. Yeah.
That makes me feel ill.
Yeah,
that.
exactly. And that's the kind of stuff that we had to open up and throw on the table and say, because if I'm trying to keep that kind of secret in me, I'm never going to get well and be able to speak about this. So I've been on both sides. I've been the cunt, basically. And I'll say that openly and honestly. Cunts, what's going on. I've been in the family's houses, yeah, and I can look back and think, them poor kids was just trying to go to school and we're all there smoking crack. And the mum and dad's shooting drugs.
Jesus.
So we can stay in there doing that because we keep feeding them. I've been on both sides. Not everybody's been on both sides. I've been on both. So for me, it's like, my son ain't going to idolise no knobhead on the street in his smart car, yeah? And I can get challenged for this because, like you say, I don't fear no fucking man. My fear, I got it tattooed on my back before I even done this recovery. I only fear one man, and that's God. The way I see today, what our kids are looking up to, Because there's a lot of breakdowns today, a lot of young lads, young girls, all they're seeing is what I seen as a kid, and that was the wrong thing. So from school, I went to gyms, and they became my parents, basically. The Dorian Yates of the world became my parents. I idolised them because I sensed power in them. So from that, being an addict of my type as well, I'm very manipulative. I could manipulate situations. I manipulated my way into getting to gangs, to deal drugs for these gangs. But then I needed to get bigger and tougher than these people. So because I was still scared of these fuckers I was hanging with, I needed to be better than them. So I made moves on them manipulatively. Very skilled as addicts, And these are things that will come out in the book. If you sense you have this kind of gift that I talk about, alcoholism, if you're not drinking and using, you can be skilled in anything. So I use my skills to manipulate people to be in the bigger gangs. Then I took over that gang, and I became in Manchester, I had a big drug round. I was known as a very dangerous person. I was only 18.
Selling everything from crack, cocaine.
We sold anything we could get out of. I started with a whiz round, which became a big whiz round, and then I made moves with other people that I can't mention in the book for their protection. Sure. Most people know what I'm talking about. And this was from an early age. But my problem was, being an addict, I became my best customer. I was going through the drugs more than I was fucking selling them. That's how I landed in the other position. I'm glad I landed in the crack house.
What would you say, being devil's advocate for a minute, what would you say to anyone who's dealing or whatever, and they go, fucking SHINNy there, they could go...
Oh, is he preaching now, is he?
Well, yeah, they could go, I'm just imagining putting on, it's he's only ends up in that because he couldn't help himself.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm getting to there. I'm glad I fell into that, because if not, I'd still be on that side of the fence, being a dickhead, because I didn't know any better. I thought that's what I was. I didn't understand that I had a mental illness, which was alcoholism. I didn't know that I was very poorly, and the things that I was behaving toward other people, it was so unspiritual and unwell and wrong what I was doing. So I'm glad I fell the way I fell. And believe me, a lot of people turned their backs on me when I fell. They did. And I've gone through that hate on all them people. You bastards weren't there for me, and I was always there for you. That was ego again. I love everybody today. I had to forgive everyone. In forgiveness is freedom. The people that are still selling drugs today, I have to forgive them and love them. But the best message I can give them is not, fucking stop doing this, you cunt. Because you can hear it in me. It's coming out, because I still have to speak honestly about it. The damage that they're causing in our communities today is disgusting. It's disgusting, but they don't see it. They don't understand it. And the reason they don't understand it, because there's not enough of me saying, boys, girls, this ain't the way this. Look at your family, they're doing great. Look at this poor kid here that's just seen the dad get fucking assassinated and killed. This poor little baby, can you imagine? I can't imagine my daughter at 10 seeing her dad getting stabbed to death, me. That is what she would have ended up seeing. But it's not like that today. I don't have qualm with no one, but I'll have to stand by my morals and say, it's fucking wrong, and I can preach. Why can I preach? Because I've been on both sides. I've seen the damage that we're doing. Yeah.
Knowing both sides you've been on and how successful it can be, how do you fix it?
Well, look, some of that Darren G said that I picked up on, people making careers out of drug dealing. I made a great career out of it, and I get it. It's not like we have any choice. Do you know what? I'm from a criminal background. I've got a lot of friends in Liverpool and a lot of friends in Manchester. I'm sure they're not going to be offended too much for what I'm saying here. I've been there. But to make a career of it, when you're younger, we don't know any better. But then we grow up a little bit. I grew up in my mid-20s to think, I don't want to be doing this no more, me. Because I could feel it. I could feel it was wrong. I knew deep down it was wrong what I was doing. I could see what it was doing to other families and friends, the damage I was doing by selling them drugs. So I turned to business. I turned to work. Why? Because those drug dealers, very fucking educated, we're very skilled.
Very entrepreneurial, yeah.
Fucking right we are. We're good. We're good with numbers. Yeah. Yeah. We're good at deals. We're the best fucking salesmen. Because we're selling you some that every man and his dog is trying to sell you, but we're selling it you first. Very skilled. So what I would say is, come on now, boys. You've had your career. turn it into some good. Try and put some good back in to your communities and to the world, because I tell you what, karma's a bitch. And karma deals with everyone. Don't care what anybody says. Karma will deal with everyone. I believe right now I'm working with my karma. I've gone through a lot of pain through my recovery, and it'd be things that you wouldn't even believe, like breakups and stuff. Some of that I couldn't come to terms with in life. Something that sent me absolutely crazy for a year in my sobriety, because the obsession to drink and use gets removed because of them 12 steps. I couldn't drink, I couldn't escape it. So my alternative was, well, I'll just cut my throat or hang myself. Do you know, I went through a lot of pain, and I believe through pain there's growth. So what I'm trying to do today is, because I've been on both sides, I can only preach this stuff now and say, look, there is a way out. When I was younger, I didn't see a way out, thinking, well, I've got this drug thing, I'm in with all these people now. There is a way out. There's a way to just go, you know what? I've had enough of this. I can see what it's doing. And the more people that start coming out and saying, I have been a bit of a bad cunt, I get it, but you know what? Yeah, I want to fucking take a leaf out of his book. He seems to be doing good in the world. You don't have to watch over his back all the time. I sleep well. I meditate every night. I sleep fucking well. Now, if I'm going to keep that to myself, this goodness that I've got, I work my life like the 12 steps has taught me. To keep what I've got to keep giving it away. If I try and keep this to myself like a selfish bastard, I'll fold within. Yeah. I'll crush myself with it. Do you know what I mean? So what I do, I'm constantly giving it away. I taught this stuff.
It must be so hard if you are a drug dealer. And I don't know what the average. I'm sure there isn't things on average. You know, if you're taking home 200 grand a month, 200 grand a year, you're driving an Audi S3. That it must be so hard to turn like.
But it's short lived. They're not that stupid. They're not daft to know it's short lived. Prison, jails, institutions, and death will come from that. Same again. That's what the program teaches again. I work off the program in society. And with drugs and harm on others, karma will get you in jail. Yeah, it'll send you crazy because you're living in that fucking psychotic life. Because I've lived it. You have to become psychotic to deal with these psychotic motherfuckers that are trying to kill you. Yeah, or death. You'll either get killed or you won't be able to cope with it no more. You'll either kill yourself or do some of that bad. You'll end up dead or you've killed yourself. Yeah. So for me, the message is to people that are out there still doing the dealing, the drugs and that. And don't get me wrong, I don't like go in the gym and see all the young lads that are dealing. I'll talk to them because I can't be aggressive to them and say, yous are doing wrong. What I can do is lead by example and say, come on lads. Nah, you shouldn't do that. You know, when I hear my mates talking about shagging on the missus, I say, why are you doing that? You've got kids at home. It's not nice. And they're like, oh, here he is, the preacher. It's like, yeah, I can preach because I've lived a life, you see, and it's wrong what you're doing. You just nobody's telling you that it's wrong. You know, your mates in the pub or in the kitchen that's been sniffing coke with you, he'll say it's fucking great. Well, I'll say, that's not right, what you're doing. This woman that's bringing up your children, this lovely woman, yeah, or this lovely mum that's brought you up into the world and you're putting their life through, well, because you want to sniff coke and sell drugs to other people. And it's like, I can't accept that. I can't agree with it. So again, I can't put on my boxing glove and say, right, I want to fight the world that's fucking selling drugs or they're doing criminal stuff. What I can say is, look, I'm just going to lead by my example. And I believe my example is the right one. And the more people that are speaking up about these things, I mean, I can't count on my hand.
It's got to have some sort of positive impact, hasn't it? If enough people are sending the message out you are, surely it's got to get through to some people.
And some of them will stop and they'll think, I'm having that. The book will explain a lot.
What was the thing then? So you're early to mid 20s and you're getting up to no good. What was going on? Other things in your life that made you think, right, I need to fucking knock this on the head? Was there something like one particular moment?
From being 17 till about 25, that's when I found, well, we talk about the build-up of drugs. I took speed and ease and stuff in the club scene. But when I'd sniffed cocaine for the first time, it was like, I've landed. That's my drug. I'm here. I've landed, everybody. I'm going to be a coke sniffer now for the next 10 years. And that's what I did. But because I'm an addict, I became addicted to the drug that I was selling. So I got a massive drug round. I was moving around with a lot of dodgy people and doing a lot of dodgy things, you know, things that wasn't ever sitting right with me. And to escape that thinking, sniffing coke seemed to be the solution for me. It was the solution. Us alcoholics and addicts, we have a very low self-esteem. That's why we have very big egos. We use the ego as like a skill, for ourselves, like an attribute. Because deep down we're very shy, and we have very low self-esteem. That's why I'm very loud. I'm still very loud and still out there. I've got to be in the middle of a boat, me. If I'm not in the middle of a boat, I am not comfortable. If I'm not controlling situations, I'm not comfortable. So I can walk in any room straight away. I mean, I've been in some rooms where there's celebrities and stuff like that. Yeah, let's call them that. The blue tickers of the world.
You're one of them.
Important people, yeah. I can't sit on the fringes of their power because I'm an addict and I'm very skilled. And if I'm not controlling the situation, I'm feeling less than. I'm not feeling as important. So that affects me. So what I have to do then, I have to take charge. I have to become loud. I have to tell a better story than you. I have to be more aggressive than you. And all them are skills that I've picked up over the years because of the disease that's centered in my mind all this time. So what I try and do now, I try and watch my behaviours, but I'd certainly watch what playgrounds I'm in today and what playmates I've got. So a lot of my mates are still up to no good. We can have a laugh, and here he is.
But so obviously it then led on to crack cocaine, but were you like the classic cocaine user, which is Friday night in a pub or Saturday night, or was it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday?
At first it was the weekends, because for me, I always had to keep that persona as well, not forgetting a lot of people wanted to harm me for the harms I'd done to them. So I always had that in the back of my mind. So physically, I had to be physically fit. So I was a gym goer Monday to Friday, physically fit all the time to protect myself from these fuckers that are trying to kill me. There was no one ever there, basically. That was just my mind. But then come the weekend, come the Friday, I'd forgot all the chaos and the carnage from the weekend before. I'd be back on it. And I think it's not going to be that bad tonight. A few drinks, and I'd be going into the Monday. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, hallucinating Saturday night into the day after, running about houses on my own with no clothes on, naked, mad. Used to always take my clothes off and I'd have weapons all hid around the houses. People must have been terrified in my parties because I'd always leave bottles on like door handles because I was convinced people was out there indoors trying to kill me. The SAS are out there, everyone's trying to kill me. It's like, this is all what was going on in my poorly mind. No one was out to kill me by this time because I'd kind of stopped a lot of what I was doing. It was all in here, all the bullshit. And it all encouraged me to keep drinking the more so and using the more so. So it started in the kitchens. We've all been in the kitchens talking a right load of shit. But then it became like the party for one. I wasn't comfortable around people anymore whilst using. 10, 15, 20 minutes of sniffing my first line, I got paranoid and psychotic. So I wasn't comfortable with people, and they certainly wasn't comfortable with me. So I'd always end up on my own, and then I was introduced to crack. I'd either be on my own or I'd have a woman, having my wicked, sick, sexual way with her, basically. But then I was introduced to crack. Again, I'd landed after 10 years of sniffing coke. This was a different high,
But crack has that another, like, I feel like with coke it's pretty, I wouldn't say it's acceptable, but it's
sociably acceptable.
Yeah, of course it is, yeah. Crack goes to that is even closer to smack it, to heroin, isn't it, where you think, I can imagine 95% of people who do coke on a weekend will go, listen, I ain't fucking going.
But even that though, you're saying, what you've just described there is, you got in a party, there's coke and there's women. That's what you think, great, that's what you need, that's fine, that's what most, loads of Charlie, loads of birds, boom.
Yeah, and it's all right for the time, but then the more you're doing it, the more damage that you're doing to your head, and it doesn't become enjoyable anymore. It's not, I can go to some family parties, and most of my uncles and cousins, the drug addicts and alcoholics, and I sit and watch them, and they're an absolute mess. They can't hold the conversation down. You've also got the women in the mind. They want to go back to have parties with women and stuff. And it was great in that. I loved them times, shagging in parties upstairs. It was great. But then the novelty, it kind of wears off. It doesn't keep. It starts to wear off that. You're just more about the drug then. I can remember sat in like conversations, and all I was thinking was the drink and the drugs. I wasn't asked about anyone's conversation anymore. So in the end, I was more comfortable on my own. But when I got onto the crack, and that's when it seriously landed, then it was like, it was a power more than I'd ever had of the strongest coke. It was like, fucking hell, this is something different. I couldn't keep my clothes on when I was smoking that crack. It turned into a very sick individual, because what I would use crack, it was always sexually as well, because there was always, for an addict, nothing's ever enough. I'll not say too much on this, it will come out in the second book, but my sexuality was questioned massively, honestly, because of never enough. I've had, there's been things in the papers and stuff, the amount of women that I've slept with. I think it was underrated, actually, to be fair. We did get national coverage, though, which me and the management team, we was happy about that, but I was like, that's pretty bad, that really, you know what we said. But it's never enough, and for the addicts, the drug was never enough, and that's where it got me in the end. 10 years of smoking crack, turning into this sick individual, sexual with women, and again, I have to protect my children here. I'm talking what a lot of men will be watching this show and they'll be like, fucking hell, I know what he's talking about here. I'm that sick cunt as well. Just that no one's talking about it. So they're keeping sick, and in our fellowships, we openly speak about that sickness, which is a massive part of it, you see.
Was the sexual side of thing always part of you, was it? And it's just like, I know everyone's a sexual person, but I mean, like, you found it just went to another level or something with the drugs?
Yeah. More women together. Again, I'll not go too deep into it. It'll have to be in volume 2, making an addict. But yeah, and I see that in a lot of people, especially in the meetings. It's like, fucking hell, I done that.
It's just chaos.
You know what, mate? That surprises me a bit, because I just think when you think of alcoholics or drug users, I just think of being a mess in the corner or being not in a fit state to be fucking this sexual
I'll
fucking
put it
beast.
like this then. For a lot of people that are watching now, we just go out and we sniff coke, I'd say 8 out of 10 of them I'd hid behind curtains, tossing the little dicks off for hours on end, sick porn, it's sick sexual behaviours that comes with the abuse of drugs. Don't care what any man is saying. If someone's been taking coke for years, it's it's not enough, and it kind of homes in on the sexual side of it as well. So, it's the paranoia, the sexual side. I mean, I've seen some of the biggest fucking men coming in the meetings saying, I get fucking dressed up in women's clothes and that, and I fuck a couple of women at a time. I'm even fucking men at the minute, because I don't understand. It's as if you can't get any sicker. It's like, I need to be sicker.
That extremism.
Yeah. It's not enough. Nothing's ever enough. Not for the addict. So what we try and do then is, I know you're all meaning on it, you want to hear more of them stories. Everyone else is probably thinking like, I know we need to know more of that story. But these are things that we share about to encourage other people, because people will be watching and they'll be like, I've been ashamed of that shit, but I'm glad to hear it from this fucking guy's mouth. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, I want to go full belt with you here and come out with a lot of stuff. But I have kids and I have a reputation today, helping other people in recovery. But I'll always say this, I am a sick individual once I put the drug in. So that's an healthy responsibility for me today.
I think it's good that you may, and again, joking aside, but that is important. I didn't think that was even a thing. That, I mean, I've not, apart from smoking a bit of weed, mate, that's about as far as I went with the drug thing. But I wouldn't have thought that was it. So I think the fact that, without you going into too much detail, I think even the fact that you brought that up, there'll be fellas there going, oh, well, yeah. Fucking
identification. Yeah. Like, he's talking my madness. I thought it was only me. Because when I was doing this stuff, I didn't think anyone else was doing this. But no one else does this kind of stuff. But then when I'm speaking about it, and then I've got other guys like that, fucking hell, thank God someone else is talking this. I thought it was just me. Fuck. So they reckon, just checking the time, because I'm a responsible dad today, I've still got to go and pick my daughter up from school.
What time do you need to leave then?
I've got to leave at 2:30 anyway. At the very latest.
Very late. All right, yeah, fair.
So that's it today. I'm a responsible parent. Do you know what I mean? There'd be a lot of parents from the playground watching this like, he's fucking mad. Like, I know.
But on that though, mate, when you're going through that shit, a big thing that I think it's very easy to, and mate, I can't thank you enough for this, mate. I've learned so much already, but one thing I think it's it's one thing listening to you. It's another thing your surroundings. You know, you are a product of your surroundings. Like you say, you're strong enough now to still be mates with these people. You know, I'm from a Bootle, you know, rough ass area, Liverpool. It's very easy to be in gangs, and it's very hard then to...
It's safer to be in a gang, yeah, and it's in your own thinking.
But people are scared as well. Like, you know, if I don't do this, if I don't get on it every weekend with the lads, if I don't do this, I'll have no one to fucking speak to. If I don't do that, I'll have no fucking mates. If I don't do that, it's difficult, isn't it?
Mm.
As I thought. So when I first come into recovery, I had them thoughts like, all my life is the boys and the chaos and the carnage and the drugs and the women. That's all I knew. So I was terrified to think, if I don't have none of that, I'm going to have nothing. I've still got friends in the crazy world, but then I've not got that much in common with them anymore. I've got loads of groups of friends, athletes, people that do recovery, people that help other people in mental health, normal people that I never even knew existed. But I was so scared, thinking I'm going to lose everything. If I stop doing this, that's my full life gone. Fucking hell, when I stopped doing that, my life began. My life began when I found recovery, because what I was trapped in was my thinking, and then it was a constant battle. When you look at addicts, that's why I'm so passionate about breaking the stigma. No one realises what goes on in our poorly minds. It's a battle every day. So from being very young, I had to wake up every day and work out how I had to manipulate situations to get what I needed to get me through each day, whether it be through drugs, whether it be through extreme training, boxing, music, rugby, anything to get me out of this thinking. And today, I don't have to do all extreme things. I meditate and I can sit with these feelings and let them come in, work out what they are, I can't just let them go. But I didn't have them skills as a young lad, so I was always chasing, I was always running away from that thinking, do you know what I mean? So when it was, that's all I've ever depended on all my life. Again, I was terrified to let all that go. Well, I'm never going to drink again. I'm going to lose all my mates. Was the fucking mates in the first place? What I did gain was my family back and true friends that was really concerned for my welfare.
I think as well, people are wanting to know, mate, as well, if, like, how the fuck did you manage a successful career and stuff as well, alongside all this fucking madness?
Because I had to, like I say, from a young age, I had to create something to protect the young boy. So I created basically a monster. I seen how people work, like he takes steroids, he sells drugs, he has a smart car. So what I was doing all the time, I was working out all these things so I can be safe, so I can be like that person. Well, I lost my train of thought then. Just
how you managed it, like the rugby, how you got involved in it, being successful alongside all of this.
I started playing rugby because by the time I was about 17, 18 when I got introduced to rugby, I was bodybuilding. So I became very explosive in my running. I became very fast. I was quite slow in school. I mean, I had a record, I loved running. I was like 10.5 in the 100 metres on grass with boots. I was extremely fast. Obviously, steroid abuse, heavy squat lifting and stuff like that. So then what I found with rugby, I quickly got into the team and I was making I was scoring crazy tries. I was getting into the local press. My ego loved that. My part of my illness thrived off that. So I kind of found like a bit of a stage for myself. So my addiction, it kind of pulled away from the drinking drugs by this time. It found something else, and that's what the book will explain. Anything that my addiction homes in on, it will do it to the extreme. So I didn't have time for they had no business drinking drugs because it would affect me being a great rugby player. I mean, I got picked up for Leeds Rhinos within like the space of a year, holding all crazy records. And it was all down to this skill that I had. How can I be faster than him? I need to set more steroids. I need to train that bit harder than him. I was always thinking how I can better myself. And then from the rugby, I picked up boxing. I could scrap anyway. But then as soon as I sensed that I could get another stage again, I loved the attention. That's what drug addicts suffer from. They crave attention. I don't want to say like self-seeking bastards. We self-seek all the time. We seek approval of others and love. Of course, we want to be loved. Everybody does, but we extremely want to be loved. Do you know what I mean? So anything that can bring that to us, we'll be all over it. So I became a pretty good boxer as well. But underlining all that, I still couldn't stop the drinking and using because I was still a million miles an hour. So when I wasn't boxing, I was thinking, and I didn't like me thinking. So it would either be food, that was a go-to, a woman, drug, alcohol, anything to take me out of this stinking thinking of mine. And obviously, you can't box forever, you can't play rugby forever, and I'm always going to wind up back there. And that's why I worry about people in the sports world, footballers, rugby players. Ricky Hatton's a good mate of mine. I've done a good episode with Ricky.
Yes,
and I said to him, I says, I worried about you when you were stopping because I knew you had the same thing as me. You were an alcoholic, Do
you have any regrets of being so kind of competitive and that ego that you didn't make more of either the rugby or the boxing, or do you sit okay with that, do you? Or?
Glad where I am today. I know what I could have achieved, but I still would have wound up in the crack house. I firmly believe that eventually that would have stopped and I would have ended up there anyway. So either way, it didn't matter. I do believe that we're having this, what I call a condition today, not an illness. I have a condition now. It's not an illness to me. I use it as a gift and like a skill. This extremism. I can achieve greatness with it. And that's why we're trying to put it into text in the book. So people at a young age, at 21, when I was 21, if I would have read a book or somebody would have says, I think you need to read this book, and I would have read my story, I would have been able to say, I know what he's talking about. I've got this the same as him. Yeah, but I'm going to go down that. I'm already on that path. But all I've got to do is make a couple of changes here, and then I can go and achieve greatness, because I'm pretty scared. I do believe addicts, alcoholics, we've always got some kind of creativeness in us, like your Amy Winehouse and the best musicians of the world. Why are they all alcoholics?
Yeah, Jimi Hendrix, all
the greats, the greats have got the same thing as I've got, but they didn't know how to channel it. They obviously got the taste of greatness because he was that good at doing what he was doing, but they had that underlying thing that was always going to drag them back.
I think what's powerful about your story is, you spoke about the lows, where you've done both sides of the fence, but again, the proof's in the pudding. Whatever you've done, you've been, even the social media side of things now, what we started off talking about, to create a platform and you're affecting that many people, it's successful.
Don't thank me. You'll not thank me for it, you can't. You have to thank the dude in the back and the dude in the passenger, the three of us, the addicts. I talk about these different strains to illnesses like cancer. There's different strains to it in there. I believe, and a lot of people from the fellowships will question you. If you're an alcoholic, you're not a little bit alcoholic. I believe you are. There's different strains to it, and I believe the most greatest people, like your Matt Frasers of the world, when you see what he does, I see what he does. He puts himself into so much pain because he has this, he can overpower it because he has this powerful strain. Dorian Yates, 6-time Mr. Olympia, yeah? He had this very powerful strain where you'll go to the end, you go to that more extreme. So anything that I've done, I use that. So today I know what this power is that I've got. I couldn't just go to AA and just help one person because I don't have that. I have a different strain, I believe. It's a very powerful strain. I couldn't just have like my own little timeline and go, right, I'm in AA, everyone. I needed a fucking big platform. They're going to do a film about me, these motherfuckers. I'm going to write a book. All I'm doing is using my disease to my advantage today. So the book will be written because of my addiction. The film will be done because of my addiction. And everything that I've achieved, all the greatness, I can't take credit for that. My disease has done most of the work.
Here's one for you, mate. Honestly, mate, I'm already one of my favourite guests just by how some of the things you've been through, mate. And I see a lot of myself in what you've said. And one thing, though,
come to a meeting.
Honestly, mate, just with the things up, like the trauma as a child and the addiction and the wanting to, be bigger and better. One thing that I've struggled with, and it's maybe something that you may go on to with the success you're having now, is the motivation sometimes now. So I look at myself, and this isn't, maybe this is my ego, I don't know, but I sometimes think, right, okay, what can I do? I think, for motivational speaker, if someone had asked me as a speaker, the 3 big speaking gigs I'd want to do, I said something to do with the military. I was lucky enough to speak at St George's Hall in front of 20,000 people. It was great. I got to speak to the England football team before the World Cup. and Nike flew me out business class to China. Like 3 pretty big different speaking gigs. I feel like I completed the speaking countersides, great. Broke this world record for an amputee, great. They made a documentary about it, great. I've got a best-selling book, great.
You're not happy though, are you?
It's like, well, I think like, well, what the fuck do I do now?
Right, so for me, that is pure addict behaviour.
But that's what I mean. That's why
we're never happy.
And sometimes I sit there now and you struggle to get... Maybe that's why the gambling's been a thing, because it's like, okay, what can I can't just do something like you said then, I can't just do something for 5 people. It's like, right, people said, oh, why don't you get involved in that? I remember I got asked to get involved in triathlon, Paralympic triathlon, and I went there, and I knew that just with the basically the disabilities for it and stuff, it wouldn't be a level playing field. Long story, I knew I wouldn't be the best at it. I was like, I'm not fucking having, if I can't be the best, I'm fucking not interested at it. I'm not saying I've got to go in and be the best, but if there's not actually like a pathway for me to work my ass off.
I tried golf, and because I didn't have an inkling, I thought I had an inkling I wasn't going to be good. I'm like, fuck that. I hate golf. Never going to play it.
Yeah.
I was laughing like I done it with the Ironman. Like I'd never rode a bike, a road bike, or I thought I could swim, and I'd never done more than half a marathon. But again, somebody planted the seed, my old coach, and he said, I've seen the way you train, you train quite extremely, don't you? Why don't you try this Ironman? I said, fuck that, I've heard about you crazy bastards, like 2.4 mile swims and stuff. 6 months later, still smoking crack and an alcoholic, I rattled halfway round. These are things that I don't really speak about. Halfway round on the bike, so I'd swam 2.4 mile. This was in 6 months training.
Just the one in Bolton?
Yeah, this was 2015.
Oh, so not long, 5 years ago, not long at all?
Just before I'd found recovery. Yeah. When I'd really hit a low, and then I got kind of I carted myself into a detox unit, and that's when I found recovery. But I used to do like 60 miles on a bike after smoking crack all night and drinking. And I had to pull my coach, Norman, an amazing guy, Norman Pornell. He's 70 odd, still doing Ironman. And he coached me through it. And I remember pulling over to him on a bike. He said, Norman, look, I feel really guilty. I said, I'm a drug addict. And he went, I know you are, son, you know. I went, you know? He went, yeah, I see it coming out your back. So when I'm riding, he could see all the salt coming out my back. And obviously, he'd understood what alcohol and drugs do. I must have just been like a piece of white for him, because he was always at the back of me. He said, I know I see it every time we're riding, but it's all right, we're going to get you through this. And my disease, again, it latched onto the Ironman thing. It was a buzz. I was in a new community of people, and there I done it. Very dangerous, but halfway around on the bike, this is how mad and cunning the disease is. When it wants a drink or a drug, it will plant every seed it can in your head. Halfway round, and in Bolton it's big, everyone's out in the pubs and there's pints everywhere. I was convinced after doing like 70 miles on the bike, and it's about 112, I was going to pull up, take some of my gear off and go and have a few pints and then get back on my bike, because that'll set me up for the marathon. Do you know what I mean? And I had to keep arguing with myself, and I kept riding past these pubs, and I'd nearly done it. And I definitely wouldn't have run the fucking marathon. I'd probably still be in Bolton now in some fucking crack house. But that's the insanity of the disease, and that's how powerful it is. And for people to say it's a choice for these addicts, I'll tell you straight, it's not a fucking choice for us. It's not. We have no choice.
So what do you do to combat it then? What's your advice then? You
know, for like, you got to go extreme in everything that you do. I don't extremely go into things. I'm at a position now where I threw all that extremism in, and that's what's built the platform, the social media, the SHINNy page and stuff. That drive and that extremeness in me was still there. But today I have inner peace, and that's through the meditation, and that's through doing that a couple of years. If it all went tomorrow, I'd be like, I'm all right. I honestly would hand on that. I love the glittery things and the sparkly things still. I do. But if I had to go to work tomorrow and work a 9 till 5 job, I know that I was fending for my son and my daughter as a decent member of society. That's heaven for me, that. It's just that I've already built it now. I'm already on that path, and it's becoming a great success. But I'm like, well, that's cool. I meditate every morning. That's where you'll find your peace. We're spiritual. A lot of people say we're human beings. We're not. We're spiritual beings having to live a human experience. We're already spiritual. Everybody's trying to get spiritual at them, and it's like, No, you're doing the wrong. You're already spiritual. You just got to practice a few things. Believe me, meditation will transform your life. I do it every morning.
Yeah,
mate, it's incredible to think that I have this image of a crack addict as someone who's homeless, got no teeth, that sort of thing, and to think that you, what was it, 4 years ago you stopped? Was it 5 years ago?
Yeah, I'll be 4 years clean and sober June 1st. When
June
the
the
book's
1st.
Released, yeah. See how I got that in? June
Mate, we will talk about that. I am conscious of the times, but we will talk about the book. You don't, like me looking at you now, and I know you're not I know you're completely clean. You don't have that, like 4 years is not a long time. To how long you were doing crack, you don't come across as, you don't look like that individual. So
when I first come into fellowship meetings, I compared with the average heroin addict or crackhead. No, I had to call myself that, and they're like, you're a crackhead. I wouldn't accept that. I was. When I first come into the fellowships, you say, look for the similarities and not the differences. I was comparing my addiction to other people's, like, well, I've still got my teeth. I've got a business, me. I still go to the gym. Fucking crackheads. I ain't one of them. Totally the wrong. But when I hear them speaking about how they was thinking, when they started talking about the feelings and like trauma and stuff in their life, I was like, yeah, you've got my attention here. You think like me, you. And that's when I realised it was nothing to do with the drug and the drink. It's our thinking that's fucked. The drugs became a solution to our problems, to our thinking. It stopped that thinking. That's why we become very addicted to the drugs and alcohol, because it's taking the pain away from us, really.
But you're right. The appearance of a you said crackhead or whatever, someone who uses crack, is that like they could be 30 but they look 60. Yeah. No teeth. You know.
Because I was an extreme addict. I was extreme in where I couldn't lose that ego. I still had to get up. I could be in a crack house all night. I still had to go to the gym to kind of try and still keep that normality about me. You know, when you talk about burning the candle at both ends.
Yeah.
Fucking hell, I'd burnt a right load of candles out. But I had to keep that. I had to still try and keep that other side of me. You know, and that was the disease as well. Like, you can't let yourself go that far. But my last outing, that's when I dropped. I smoked heroin for the first time ever. I'd smoked heroin a good few times, because the crack, it sends you that crazy. When it runs out, you would literally sell your soul to the devil for more crack. It's an awful thing. Oh, the come down of that is horrendous. And the heroin would calm you down a bit. But it was the last night, that's when I knew, after a 5-month relapse, after I'd done about 8.5 months of recovery, not working the programme, thinking, fuck that God shit, I ain't doing this 12 steps, I'll sort this out. You know, still convinced I was going to sort it out. Yeah. And I'd gone out for 5 months. I'd relapsed on my 40th birthday in Cyprus. And could I come back? What they reckon with this illness, it's progressive. So the more I'm clean, the stronger the illness becomes. So if I pick up a drink now, it's not like 5 years ago. It's very aggressive. You can't really put down. So that's why I have to have my wits about me every day. But that final night, I'd smoked heroin and it gave me a hit like I'd never felt it before. It gave me like a kind of hit from the first time I'd had coke or crack. It was like, everything was kind of like this peace came over me, like someone just gave me a big fucking hug. I remember falling back and this girl like giving me a shit. Fucking hell, Shin, you've had a hit tonight, haven't you? Do you know, it fucking got me. But that hit terrified me the day after. And that day, that was my rock bottom. That was my rock bottom, the fear of, I can be a crackhead, I can still get in the gym, I can be an alcoholic, I can still keep it together. But I knew going down that road, I won't come back. Yes. And I rung my sponsor, Alan, and I said, I'll do it. I'd surrendered. I said, I'll do anything you want. And he went, right, I'll take you through the work. And you know what? Within 90 days, I worked through the programme and I've never picked up a drink and a drug since. That's the power of that, because I'd done it proper. And I brought everything up. Every secret that I had. Everything I was going to take to the grave.
You know, so interesting you say about with sportsmen yourself and like the likes of Ricky Hatton and stuff. I mean, the military and sports are so very like, because that, mate, you get the funny thing in the Marines, you'd go for you go on a night out, you get in at 4 or 5 in the morning, shag and whatever, and then you go and do a fucking 12-mile run. Yeah. And because of the because of the mindset and stuff. Your boss didn't give a fuck. You'd be spewing your ring up and then carry on running, catch up.
Yeah.
As long as you were there and finished the run, no one give a fuck. And the big drinking culture, that burning the candle at both ends, mate. Fucking hell.
Yeah.
Like, I've never seen people drink as much and then get up and fucking...
And that's what I did the day after. I used to blame it on like the carbs in the drink, the alcohol, you know, like feeding me all that sugar in the morning. But it's the insanity and it's the escapism again. So when I'm rough, I don't want to feel rough. It was either two things for me: go and train extremely, and that will set me out my feeling, and then I'll release loads of endorphins, another drug again, or I just pick up the drink again. It was when I stopped doing the extreme stuff and then realised to stop all that horrible hangover, that nervous breakdown I was having, I picked up my first morning drink, and I'll never forget it. It fucking took everything away, and for about 4 years I drank every day, every fucking day. But for the last year I drank continuously. Eyes open drinking I had. My eyes was open, I was drinking. Next to my bed. And if I wouldn't drink, the horror that we go through that people don't see, you know, they will see it in the film. When I do that film, Making of an Addict, the book, you'll get a taste of it in the book. But the film, there's a part in the trailer, I don't know if you've seen the trailer, Making of an Addict. There's a part that I had to show me going through the madness in my apartment. I've got no clothes
I've seen
on,
it,
I've got a big sword. And that's what I used to get up to. It's like... Oh, it's fucking awful. When you can't have a drink and you need a drink, you go into like a fit, and I was like, get me a fucking drink. And I can remember the moment I turned into this thing, even to my mum or my partner, I'll fucking kill you. And it's like you get taken over by something. And as soon as you have that drink, it's like, wow, what was all that about? You fed the fucking monster, you know what I mean?
Do you ever transfer that addiction into things like, do you have a lot of coffee, or because you need that?
I love coffee, yeah, because I'm an addict. I'm not cured.
Yeah.
So I need a stimulant in the morning. My high in the morning is praying and meditating. I turn my will over because I believe I've always woke up every morning and my first chain of thinking has always been negative, because I have a disease that lives in my subconscious, and it wakes up before me. About 10 minutes before, and it throws a lot of negative into my thinking, yeah? Do you ever wake up positive? I believe a lot of people get up and they're like, yeah, I'm all right. Not for the addicts. We wake up very negative, so we've got to work at a few things. So for me, it would always be the gym. Get to the gym. Why did I need to get to the gym in the morning like that? Because I was trying to get away from this thing, my thinking. So now what I do, I pray, I meditate 10 minutes, light my candle, my incense. I have a coffee, I'm ready for the day then. I've settled myself on my thinking. And I believe my train of thought is always going to be negative because I have this disease. I'm never going to be cured from it. Never. It's always going to centre in my mind, and it's a negative illness. It's not... If it was a positive illness, I'd probably still be smoking crack now, but it's not. It's very negative. So I have to combat it daily, but I only do it daily. I don't think I'm going to be clean now for 10 years. I just think... Today I know I'm not going to drink.
And then tomorrow...
I'll start again. So I'm living in... What's that old film called? Groundhog Day. My day is Groundhog Day. It really is. Each day.
Yeah.
I pray and meditate. I get about my business. I help other people. If I'm not helping other people, I'm getting sick. If I'm not giving this power away, I'm keeping it for myself. So with the platform, for me it's a daily job. I do it every morning. Monday, Tuesday, all the way to Sunday. Every morning, if I'm not capable of getting up and giving this gift away at 9 till 10 every morning, there's something going on in me, you know.
How does that affect, I mean, we'll wrap it up now as well, Mike's only got to go, but what's that like? So now, present day, obviously things are going well with the social media stuff. Kids, relationships, things like that, all...
Brilliant. You know, in early recovery, you see how we get very sensitive. You know, when I try and talk about the kids, I get very emotional because for me, Donovan and Gracie Lee was my everything. Them kids stopped me killing myself many, many times. I couldn't do it because I had their face would be in front of me. It's amazing. You know, I'll be careful what you wish for in recovery as well, because I wish to have my kids. I can't fucking get rid of them now. The mum's gone mad because I'm a decent dad today. You know, I don't control them. I don't give them shit. They see that I pray and meditate, and I live the best life. My kids are in my life, and I'm a decent dad to the kids. Relationships I struggle with. I really do struggle with the women still, because anything good in my life, my disease doesn't like it. It becomes an obstruction. My kids was a massive obstruction in my life, because they stopped me using drugs and alcohol. So it's very cunning, very powerful, the disease. It'll find ways of getting rid of everyone till it's got you on your own. And it's a scary thing to think, but that's the truth. That's what the disease wants. Once you're on your own, drinking yourself to death. So with women, it can become a bully in my thinking. You don't need her. She'd only have a little whinge and they'd be like, oh, get rid of her. That's where my head goes. So I live a single life today. And I'm all right with that. I don't depend on a woman today. I had codependency on women. I don't. I fend for myself. I do all my own cleaning, my own ironing, my washing, do all my own meals. I take care of my kids as a man should. I don't put on anyone. And I just believe I'm living the life that not every man does. But it'd be great to see more men doing it, and that's a message to anybody that's still out there in the madness, whether it be drugs, violence, criminality. The life I'm living today, this spiritual life with my kids, no cars and no mansions ain't ever gonna fucking get near that. I'm a multi-millionaire. I've got everything that I want. It's priceless. You can't put a price on it. So
it's great to hear you say that. When you can see it in your voice and yourself, mate, when talking about your kids, mate.
Yeah, because they've been the biggest. I had to recover for me, and they say you've got to recover for you, because if you try to recover for your missus or your kids and that, it won't work. You've got to want it for yourself. But for me, initially it was I had to do it for myself. But in the back of my mind, it was just to have my kids. I mean, my son is an amazing. My son don't give a fuck about it. He don't want to be a rugby player. He don't want to do CrossFit. He don't want to do anything else. He's got a job. He's a plumber. Tells me how great what he's going to do. So I'm going to get my van. My boss is always speaking highly of me. And I just sit there dead amazed thinking, you're so not like me, son. And I love it. But then I've got my daughter. And what I've recognised in Gracie Lee, she has the ism. She has alcoholism. Every ism in me, she has. Wets the bed still. Well, she doesn't. She's stopped doing that now. She still wet the bed till a very, very late age. She's very manipulative, controlling. She knows best. Everything that I was as a child, I see me in her massively. But what I can do now with Gracie Lee, I'm not going to 12-step and go, right, we need to do the steps. I'll just lead by example. And I'm hoping for the best, because she's got her own little higher power taking care of her, that she'll see the goodness through her dad and recognise that she has this gift in her. She is going to achieve. I mean, she's an amazing singer and dancer, our Gracie Lee. She's extreme. Sports days, the lads couldn't get near her. She would win everything exactly as I was. So I believe it can skip generations, the illness. I don't believe it's hereditary. I believe it's hereditary, but it can skip. With Donovan, I don't recognise any of the ism in him, that internal spiritual malady. But with Gracie Lee, it fucking oozes out of her. So instead of me controlling her now, saying, right, she needs to be a dancer, it's like, what do you like doing, Gracie?
Point in the right direction.
Yeah, and just lead by my example, and I think that's the best I can do for my kids. So, and you know what? Deep down, the worst of us, when you bring your kids into the mix, I don't care how big or tough the criminals are or the baddest people in the world, when you bring their kids into the mix, they melt.
Yeah.
So all you got to do then is, when you melt, think about other people's kids at the same time as your own. Because I love everyone else's kids. I don't want to see no children be harmed or witness what I've seen kids witnessing. It's not fair. It's tight. But that's up to them, innit? Yeah.
Mate, I know you've got to shoot now. The book as well in June, which is next year.
June 1st. It's June 4-year clean day, that as well. June 1st.
So have you nearly finished it now then, or are you...
The book?
Yeah.
I go into the studio January the 8th on my birthday, my 44th birthday, doing the audio book for the month. And the book's nearly finished now. We've got proofreaders now. And we're estimating, we're saying now it's going to be the top seller with Amazon. It'll be at top spot, top selling book, because we have a massive audience now that waiting for the book. But we have to make sure that the job's done right.
Yeah,
this book is going to save many lives. And
I can't wait to read it, mate.
Yeah, Making of an
It's
Addict.
been such a pleasure, mate.
Real
pleasure.
Yeah, and don't forget your socks,
mate. Yeah,
SHINNy socks.
SHINNy socks.
And also in them, there's a keyring in them. We've formed SHINNy's 12-step socks. So we formulated a 12-step program for the general public. You don't have to be an alcoholic to work these steps.
Mate, it's awesome, mate.
Step one is surrender.
I've enjoyed it so much, mate. I've learned a lot about myself, mate. It's been great.
Thank you so much as well.
It's been really
cool. You didn't even get a word in edgeways, did you?
It's the best ones, mate.
I didn't think we would.
It's the best ones, mate. Honestly, we do this to try and learn about other people's lives and learn something myself. And honestly, mate, I've certainly learned a thing or two. So can't thank you enough.
Thank you so much.